Hello, welcome in to the Irish NFL show live from London ahead of probably the biggest London game ever as the Green Bay Packers make their way to London. Michael McQuaid, Colin Cronin, Brian O'Leary, all feeling fresh this morning. Colin, how are you doing? You all right?
Great, yeah, unbelievably sunny day here. Beautiful autumn day. Enjoying Brian's Hermanos Cup for anyone who watches Arrested Development. You'll enjoy that reference. But really looking forward to today's game. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, everything that surrounds it, and we've seen plenty of what look like Kerry jerseys, but they are Packers jerseys here in London.
Brian, obviously, welcome in. And I couldn't get over it on Thursday. I texted you lads on Thursday. Even on Thursday, I went into the Barboy and Banker, and I didn't know until that night that was the Packers' second bar, the smaller one. There's a lot of Packers fans, a lot of Giants fans on the flight over from Dublin this morning. A lot.
Yes, Michael, there is another team here today.
Yes, there is.
I wish everybody would remember that. I went to a Giants fan event in London last night, and it was the same kind of team. Do people realise the Packers are playing themselves today? But you're right, in fairness, it's a significant day. It's the last team of the 32 to finally arrive and play in the UK. Packers have obviously had a huge fan base across UK, Ireland, Europe, and it is telling in terms of how many fans are here because they're very appreciative of the fact that they're finally going to get to see Aaron Rodgers. And when the game was announced last May, did people think that two teams would be here with a winning record? Probably not. But the Giants have surprised people under their new coach, Brian Dable, and Packers, obviously, there's a lot expected of this team this season.
You're talking about Arrested Development. Los Pollos Hermanos for all the Breaking Bad fans out there. Our producer's laughing in the background. Here, he's talking about when it was announced about the whole winning record thing. I will never forget where I was at 2:26 in April. I think it was March, and I seen got text Packers, and I was like, nah, no way. And we're talking to Mark Murphy on Thursday, and he was saying that they've wanted to do it. And I know we had him on the show previously. They've wanted to do it for years. They genuinely seem excited about coming over here. And so did the Giants as well. But, as Brian said, we weren't that lucky to all be in Twickenham a few years ago, that classic game. Just your thoughts ahead of today, Colin. I genuinely feel for people watching this game, whether you're in the States, whether you're in Ireland, it's on Virgin Media at 2:30, or in the UK on ITV, or in NFL Game Pass, check the link in the bio, that this atmosphere today is going to be incredible. Even if there is a majority of one team, which it seems like there might be for the Packers, I still think the Giants fans are going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, look, I think Packers fans are delighted. I think Mark Murphy is delighted. I think there are plenty of the players who you heard and saw the videos that they were posting on their way over. I don't think everybody involved with the Packers is maybe delighted.
No.
Might have seen LaFleur's comments. I think he'd much rather be in Lambeau. But this, I think, is a testament to Brett Gosper, Henry Hodgson, and all those involved in the internationalization. We're seeing it in Munich. I think you're going to see games in Barcelona, in Paris, in Rio. I think the fact that the Packers, they're here, they're happy to be here, but I think this was inevitable. Once Brett Gosper was put in place, the internationalization, the global growth of the NFL was going to take a step up, and I think that's what we're seeing here today.
Brian, it's a really interesting day. And just sort of talking on what Colin said there, one of the things that I seen yesterday was that video with Mr. Goodell talking about having a division. I think Colin's bang on the money. I think he'll have a game in the Bernabeu in the next few years, game in Paris. I'd rather just have a few games. The fact we're going to hopefully, please God, see Brady in Munich next month is incredible. And I will say in LaFleur's defense, he was just cranky. He was just tired. He was like me. He had a couple of hours sleep, and he's here now. But it's all gone. He perked up by the time I had seen him at lunchtime. I promise that was the case.
Most coaches in this league work off a couple of hours sleep. Our coach on Friday was really grateful to have the opportunity to meet fans and the media this side of the world, and he seemed to be in very good form and great spirits, and the whole Giants team seemed to be in great spirits. Why wouldn't they be, the way they're playing at the moment? Look, LaFleur's under pressure as well. We're going to discuss the game, but the reality is every year the Packers are expected to be going for the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, it hasn't materialised over the last few years. They've had some crushing defeats in the playoffs. And they've been up and down. Once they're 3-1, their offense has been a bit stop-start this season. Defense playing well. So the pressure's on them today to win the game. The Giants are in a situation where no one expects them to win today. Pressure's off. Daniel Jones, thankfully, is fit. He's going to play. We've got the makings of a great game today. I think one thing what we'll see today, the weather's fantastic. We should see a really good game with two teams that are, looking to push on for the season. Just to step back to what Colin said about the game. Yeah, you're alluding to Goodell yesterday suggesting that at some stage in the future, we may have a division based in Europe. But right now, I think the focus is on, as Colin said, growing the game internationally in terms of having games in different countries throughout Europe. Germany obviously is the starting point next month. Commitment for 2 more games in Germany, and then as teams go on, maybe Spain, France. So I think we might be getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves. It's exciting that he sees that for the future, but right now, let's just get these other games in place, and then obviously maybe 5 or 6 years down the line, a division in Europe. Let's get a team in Europe first before we even get a division in Europe.
Talking about traveling around Europe, we're presented by Cassidy Travel. They are Ireland's #1 travel agent. Just check out the bio for more information. If you're listening to this in the podcast, or if you're listening or watching live on YouTube, you're all very, very welcome. We'll try and get to some comments if we can, but we don't have the infrastructure right now for that. Some really, really good guests coming up today, Colin.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, I think, 2 of them have been on the show before, but looking forward to welcoming Brandon and Richard back on, and obviously a Giants super fan. Looking forward. We've heard a lot from Mr. Brian O'Leary,
license plate guy.
License plate guy.
You see his video with Rogers on Friday.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh my God!
He's so well known within the league, by the quarterbacks, by the teams. He does a lot of great charity work, in fairness, and
he seems like a really good guy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
He does a lot of stuff. He gives us so much time. I saw a super fan on our message yesterday. I felt a bit disappointed. I thought I was the Giants super fan. Maybe I'm the Giants super fan in Europe, and maybe I'll have to start growing my hair a little bit longer. Maybe get the sun in that I used to use when I was on my holidays.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in terms of let's talk very quickly here about the Giants before we get our first guest on. I've been impressed by the way that Daniel Jones has been able to play over certain weeks. Even that game against Dallas, a lot of the mistakes the team had on the offense weren't his fault, and on a different day, he would have won that game. Now I'll say this, and you can quote me in this and take this for TikTok or whatever you want to do, lads. He would have scored a touchdown on Thursday night in that Thursday night football game, which I'm still to watch. I can't watch it. I've only watched the last play. So, what's your thoughts on this Giants offense? And I know Brian will probably give more information, but Colin, what's your thoughts on this Giants offense and this defense? Because obviously Saquon's coming back, and I think for any fan of the NFL to have Saquon back is great. To have him in London today is even better.
I've been impressed overall. I think the Giants are ahead of schedule, and I think they didn't think they'd be here. Look, Joe Shane inherited a mess. Think about the cuts he had to make just to get under the cap in order to start the season. We know that they're missing players. Kenny Galladay, where are you?
Where is he? It's like Allen Robinson all over again.
Yeah, but the reality is that Saquon is playing unbelievably well. That makes a huge difference. That's going to help a QB out. It's going to help an offense out when you get the running game going. As a Broncos fan, jealous of their running game, to be honest. Something we haven't seen. But I think the defense has played really, really well. And obviously, they started off with missing their probably key new piece in Thibodeau. So Wink Martindale has done a nice job there. Dable has done a really nice job. Obviously, he decided not to call plays. Some rookie head coaches are calling, some aren't. Seems to be working for the Giants thus far. But I do think the roster will look very different next year. For me, this is still a year for the Giants about finding out, who they want to be the future of this franchise going forward.
Brian, Saquon Barkley has averaged 115.8 rushing yards per game this year. That's nuts. He's only scored 2 rushing touchdowns, but still, those stats are amazing.
Yeah, when we did our season preview show and you were looking for obviously players that are going to bounce back, your key call out for the season, I said that Saquon would break his rookie year. He had 1,500 yards. He had something around 90 receptions, and he had like 13, 14 touchdowns. And I said he'll break that this year. He may not get there, but he's certainly trending in the right direction. He's 453 yards rushing, best in the league. And it's why they drafted him. Like, there's been so much scrutiny and criticism of Dave Gettleman. He's gone now, but he drafted him at 2. Everybody said he drafted him because this is the player that you're going to get. Unfortunately, with the injuries, that hasn't materialised. But we're finally seeing him back fresh, lean, and really with a point to prove. He did a press conference in August, and he was very different in terms of his personality. He was real kind of, I'm going to prove it to people who've doubted me That's not the kind of guy he is. He seems very reserved. But so far, so good. And look, he's the bell cow today. Everything today works through him. Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones ran for 68 yards last week, 2 touchdowns. The previous week in Scouts, 74 yards. He's been allowed those opportunities because teams are focused on stopping Saquon Barkley.
What do you lads think of the whole Friday element? Like, I seen genuinely, like, firsthand how tired the Packers players were on Friday night. Granted, look, we can all be wrecked. We all have a night's sleep. Rogers is up at Wembley on Friday night. They're all going mad, having a bit of crack. Aaron Jones was in the New Year's store yesterday. Do you think Friday is an issue, Colin? Do you think it's an issue for the teams, or do you think it's good because that's the future and that's the way it should work? But if you're a West Coast team coming over, like we know for a fact the Broncos are coming over on the Tuesday. Do you think that could play into today's game at all? Because the Giants seem to come over, and I think they started their practice earlier than the Packers. And LaFleur at least said that he was making the team stay up, and they were not happy about it by the sounds of it. So it was interesting.
Well, the Saints came over earlier than the Vikings, and it didn't seem to help them. And I mean, you're talking about Minnesota, Green Bay in the same region. So for me, I don't think it should be that difference. I mean, you heard last week, Jeff Duncan was talking about how the Saints looked at it. Arif was talking about how the Vikings looked at it. You're going to get different advice. Different doctors, different nutritionists. Everyone will tell you the way in which it works. I think attitude probably plays more into it. How do you feel about it? It's probably a little bit easier for road teams as well, in certain respects, in terms of the mindset. But realistically, the game is played when the game is played, and you just gotta show up. So for both these teams, they've arrived essentially at the same time. Much bigger contrast last week, but I don't think that was the defining feature or factor in last week's game.
Do you think the Giants are at a small advantage because they've been here before? I know a lot of players may not have been in that case, but the Packers have never been over. Like guys like Mason Crosby has never played. Aaron Rodgers has never had to fly over here and do this.
It's hard to know because a lot of those players, like the panel changed so quickly in the NFL from year to year. There was one thing OC Humaniora said. I had the opportunity to go on a round table with OC and Jason Bell on Thursday, and OC commented on the fact that the NFL won't be happy with teams arriving on Friday because this is a marquee few weeks for the league, both from a Goodell standpoint and obviously Gosper and the team here that working to put these games in place. They want the teams to be coming, like which the Saints did last week, coming on the Monday. You allow for the week, allow for the build-up. Coming on a Friday doesn't really gear towards the other stuff and contributions that they want the teams to do throughout the course of the week. In terms of the game, it's difficult to know. Look, we saw last week, for instance, the Saints came on Monday last week. The Saints lost the game on a double doink. Easy could have went over.
Doink, doink.
Could have been in overtime. Could have went very different. I think the players now have readjusted to the fact that get in, spend as little time as they can, and get out. And that's the reality. Like both teams are going to travel home tonight. So by the time the Giants, for example, will leave at 10:30 tonight, 6-7 hours, they'll arrive before midnight local time, quickly readjusting back into East Coast time.
As long as they don't sleep in the plane, we'll see what happens. We've got a few guests coming up. We're going to talk more about this game coming up as well. It's a really, really exciting day for the NFL in London as the Packers complete the set. Aaron Rodgers going up against Daniel Jones in the stadium right behind us at 2:30. Game is on Virgin Media 2 in the Republic, ITV in NI. NFL Game Pass as well. You can check out the link in our bio for more information. We'll be back very shortly here on the Irish NFL Show from London. Okay, welcome back into the Irish NFL show. Falcha. We're live in London ahead of the Giants playing the Packers. I can't believe I'm saying that. Two storied franchises, probably the biggest international game ever. I know there's been some clankers of games, even in Mexico, etc. But this is a really, really good game. It's a big day for the NFL internationally, a big day for us, and we're really, really appreciative of the opportunity to do this beside the stadium. Joined by Colin McCrone and Brian O'Leary. You got some guests on the way soon. We're going to talk about the Packers here, first of all. Not a great start to the season. And, you got the Vikings game. They struggled on the run. They struggled generally in the Vikings game. They were all right week 2. Week 3 was up and down again on the run. And last week against Zap, is he playing today?
He is.
Yes, Zappy is playing today. They weren't great. Would I go as far as saying I fell asleep watching that game last Sunday? Potentially. I was in a hotel. The Packers need to get something going today. And they're never, there's no team that's going to get an atmosphere potentially similar to Lambeau Field than this team. So they have to do it today. They have to find a way. Rodgers has to get the ball down the field. He's only had 6 touchdowns in the first 4 games.
Yeah, but I think what's probably the Packers have been hit, and maybe the Broncos have been hit as well by Nathaniel Hackett and the other coaches who moved across. So that's huge disruption for the Packers in terms of losing your offensive coordinator, obviously losing your number 1 wide receiver. The guys you bring in are projects. It's not like they went out and they got Chris Olave so that they could hit the ground running. It's not like they brought in any big name guys in free agency. So it's going to take time. This is what the Packers do. And we knew they weren't going to take first round wide receivers. It's just not their thing. So it's going to take time. I think their thinking is that wide receivers that you take in the second round and elsewhere can develop, and that they will improve as the season goes on, as they get more used to Aaron Rodgers. But it does take time for a new coordinator to settle in, to get that relationship. If you look at, say, when Matt LaFleur's first season, obviously they were very successful, but you look at that relationship with the OC and with Rodgers, and you look at the development over 3 years. He was quicker getting the ball out. He improved every single year. So that takes time. And it's a QB who isn't getting any younger. He's still elite, obviously. But the reality is guys get older, and not everybody is Tom Brady playing to that level at 44.
The thing on the offense for me, Brian, with the Packers is I could not believe the height of Christian Watson. The man's about 7 foot tall. He might not be. I'm just really, really small. But Romeo Doubs, over 4 games, has 24 total targets, 2 touchdown passes. He's averaging 46 yards a game. Rodgers needs to find a way to exploit the wide receivers today against a Giants team that could potentially let some in. But at the same time, the Giants are going to be up for this today as well.
Well, the Giants' defense has been, let's be honest, it's been fantastic over the 4 games. Bearing in mind the players that are available to them. We said on the show a couple of weeks ago that Melvin Ingram was the example I used with Miami, 1-year contract, $5 million, prove-it deal. The Giants are playing with players that, for majority of the teams around the league, are not at the level of other players. But the one thing he's done is he's put a team together in terms of they understand exactly what's expected of them, and he's brought in 4 or 5 players who had experience in Baltimore. That's key. They understand what's expected of them working under Wink Martindale. Back to the Packers. Yeah, Romeo Doubs has really stood out. I think he was the 4th round pick. You've gone with the 2nd round pick in Watson. Things could have been very different for Watson if it wasn't for that drop against the Vikings.
Big time.
There's players in the league that hit the ground running immediately, and then all of a sudden they go on to have great seasons. And there's players that have one particular situation and it knocks them back 3 or 4 weeks. And after that incident in the first week against the Vikings, he didn't get the ball, and they've gradually started to transition him in. He's also been injured, which hasn't helped the situation. Romeo Doubs in the game in Tampa started very well, and he's kind of progressed since then. Alan Lazard, who's kind of been second, third receiver over the past couple of years, seems to be stepping up into the number 1 receiver. There's plenty of talent, but they've also got a really strong running game, and that's really helped them so far. You've got A.J. Dillon, you've got Aaron Jones, and Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay Bears game said that we essentially won the game because of our running backs. But he also said last week it's not sustainable to think that our running backs can keep winning those games. At some stage, this offense has to click, and it might click today. Who knows? But you won't get a better opportunity today. That's in it. No adverse weather conditions. It's not like Lambeau, certainly in terms of the weather. It's a perfect day. We'll see what comes of it with this offense.
And there's actually seats in the stadium as well, which is nice. It's going to be fun. You talking about Aaron Jones there. Like, I understand, Colin, you've had that combination of Dylan and Jones there. Jones struggled week 1 against the Vikings. Well, I say struggled. He had 50 yards rushing at the same point. And he had 36 against the Bucks. And Brian talked there about the Giants' defense. Surely, for any situation today, they need to stop Jones. They need to find a way to just exploit that, put the pressure under Rodgers, and just find a way to really spook them early days.
Well, I mean, what anyone wants to do is obviously get to the QB is your first aim. I think as a defense, and Wink Martindale has proved over the years he can do that. And the next thing is to stop the run. But as Brian has alluded to, the Packers have a two-headed monster, and so you can think, okay, we're having success against Jones, but all of a sudden you got to now stop Dylan as well. So it will be a big test, probably the biggest test that the Giants have faced, I think, thus far in terms of the quality of the quarterback and the quality of the running backs. They have stepped up to the plate, certainly, as Brian has talked about. But, these are two guys, and it's been interesting to see at times the Packers have looked to get both of the guys on the field. And, then as the defense, well, which way are they going to go? And both of these guys can not only run it from the backfield, but they're both capable of catching the ball out of the backfield as well. So I think, yes, the Packers game, right, while we're still only in week 5, it's going to take time to really develop. And so they are leaning heavily on the running game. And that will be an intriguing battle today, is how the Giants defense matches up against the Packers offense.
Happy days. We're going to be right back with a special guest on this show, license plate guy. You can see Brian's face already, how excited he is. See you in 2 minutes. Okay, welcome back into the Irish NFL show. Big day in London. Big guest in London. We are joined by Joe Roback. I got that correct, yeah?
You did.
License
well
plate guy. Like everyone, any NFL fan, whether you're in Ireland, the UK, you'll have seen this guy. He met Aaron Rodgers in Heathrow Airport on Friday, but he's over here in London. And Joe, it's or can he call you license plate guy?
You could call me LPG, call me Joe. You can call me anything you want if the Giants win. I don't really care.
Well, yeah, very, very warm welcome. As I say in Ireland, Falcha, welcome. Tell me this. I'm going to go off cuff here now. Why are you called license plate guy? What's the crack there?
I mean, come on, it's self-explanatory. If you follow at least license plate guy, I have a license plate that I had when I was 16 years old. My dad dared me to wear it to a game. So I was like, come on, I'm not going to wear my license plate to it. But I did, and the Giants won. And, Giants fans are very superstitious. So when they won, the people in the section were like, you got to wear that again. So of course I wore it again, and one became 2, became 10. Now it's over 100. People from all over the country send me their
That's
plates.
awesome.
As long as it's Giants related, I'll wear it.
We'll get Brian to get you an Irish one soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
I need one.
Joe, look, I think we had Joe Shane on the show, and he was too kind to say it. But the reality is that Dave Gettleman left the Giants in a mess, right? And we've seen Shane.
Who?
Yeah, I bet you wish he could forget, and I bet Shane wishes he could as well, because he's had to make cuts even before the season started to get under the cap. How impressed have you been with the start that the new GM and head coach have made to this season?
Well, first of all, all GMs have to go through their ups and downs and get them to have some ups. I mean, let's give credit where credit is due. I mean, Andrew Thomas, I don't want to go through the whole list, but he's made some good picks. Yep. However, he really left the Giants in poor shape. And, as a Giant fan, you're so geared up for whoever takes over, whether it's Joe Shane and another coach. I was super pumped up for Joe Judge. But I believe the Giants, they never let, anybody to come in have full reign. And finally, I believe they gave that to Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. And yeah, they have to make some uncomfortable decisions. And I think as Giant fans across the board, we're going to be less judgmental at this point, and let's see what's going on. Listen, if you told me the Giants were 3-1, before the season would start, I'd be like, yes. If you told me they were 3-2, not that that's going to happen. All right, if you told me that they were 3-2, I would have accepted that as well. So I think Joe Shane, is coming in here, putting his stamp down. I mean, look, Blake Martinez was a shock. There were some other things that were a shock, redoing contracts, this and that. So we're going to give him some leeway, but I truly believe that he's already done a good job.
You're talking about GMs coming in. First GM since 1979 that has no ties to the Giants. Mara has finally recognised it's better to look outside of the doorway. Wink Martindale, this defense. We just before you came on, we spoke about the defense doesn't have any marquee name, shall we say, but right now they're playing as a unit. You can see the scheming. Some strong safety stepping into linebackers dropping back in the field in coverage. It's very different to what we've seen over the past few years. How can you not be impressed with what he's done so far?
Look at these guys over here from Ireland knowing about all this football, baby. I love it. So, yeah, I mean, super impressed. Look, Wink Martindale scares me. I mean, I'm sitting in the crowd. He looks like he wants to tackle me. So, I mean, he
tank commander.
Yeah, I'm trying to match his due. But, he has a different mindset than anybody else that's come in here. He just wants to smack you in the mouth. He wants to send everybody at you. So, and I love that you brought up this hybrid, linebacker / safety, cornerback, whatever you want to call it, because Giants just got back Landon Collins, and he fits that bill tremendously. I'm so looking forward to watching him come up into the box, where Giant fans were preaching for that anyway. Yeah. Maybe he lacks a little bit on coverage, but he'll come up and he'll tackle anybody, and he could take on any lineman. So, yeah, I think Wink brings an incredible presence and a great mindset to what the Giants are trying to do. And that's just going to come at you. I mean, look, that's the key to this game today. I truly believe it. I truly believe that the pressure of this, which I'm sure we'll get to later, the pressure today is the team's going to win.
For me, just going off topic, Brian Daboll looks like a guy you could have a pint with, doesn't he? He just seems like a guy you sit down and have a pint with.
Well, speaking of which, he was there last... No. No, but yeah, he's that kind of coach. Definitely. I think he's a little bit laid back than what we're used to, which is good.
It's good. One thing, Joe, that you're really recognized for, and I've seen it myself online, is your charity work. I've seen you, giving away tickets to games for fans, either for London or for New York. You have to be commended for trying to give back to the community. Monday morning free copies if the Giants win. You might feel the pinch a little bit this season now that they've improved. Here, look, man, the Giants 3-1.
That's all. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. So look, I do a lot of charitable work. I do a celebrity softball game with over 100 Giants that participate in that. We've raised over $150,000 for various charities. And you know what? When the Giants, when you go through some poor seasons, which unfortunately there's been a few of them, you have to start doing a little bit extra. You start finding different ways into crying during the week, like I was doing. And the Dunkin' thing is kind of funny because, I was in line. The Giants won a game, and I was like, to the people behind me, I'm like, hey, anybody, I'm buying coffee today. Thank God there was only 2 people behind me. But the point is, I bought the coffee, and next week the Giants, it was a few weeks later, unfortunately, the Giants won another game, and somebody on Twitter was like, hey, license plate guy, what's your Venmo? I'm like, for what? And he's like, I'd like to buy coffee for a couple people behind you. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. And then now, we're up to $300, $400, sometimes $800. Granted, that's when we had 3 victories this week. This year, when we have 10, I'm gonna get like $1. Yeah, I'm gonna get like $1. But and then Kyle Rudolph and a few other Giants, he moved on. He's not a Giant anymore. But he was like, hey, what'd you make yesterday on Dunkin' Monday? I'm like, $800. He's like, here's another 800. So yeah, it's caught on. It's been pretty cool. And Dunkin' Monday in London, I can tell you that right now.
Love it.
Joe, I suppose the league always surprises, right? And before the season started, everyone talked about how strong the AFC West was going to be. And the NFC East has kind of been the butt of the jokes, right, for the past couple of years.
Watch yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
true,
around the league. But all of a sudden, right, the Giants are flying. The Cowboys have been impressive given Dak's absence, and those boys from Philly that you guys don't really like, our Mr. O'Leary's the same.
Really, Joe?
Oh, see, I told you, I'm not the only one who does that.
Never heard of him.
Joe, he's picked against the Eagles every week, and it's week 5.
And he will do.
Keep going. Keep going. Eventually, you'll win that bet.
Have you been surprised though by how? I mean, look, the Commanders are the Commanders, but have you been surprised by how strong the East has been?
Yeah. Hey, look. We used to be like the division.
Yeah.
I mean,
the early
we used to be the
'90s. My
division.
goodness.
Yeah, and so am I surprised? A little bit. Dallas is going to win their games, okay, until it's crunch time, and then they won't. So I'm okay with that. They'll be the regular Dallas Cowboys. All right. The Eagles. Listen, they stack their lines on both sides. You don't know what you're going to get from Hurts on a daily basis, and it looks pretty good, which is making me kind of mad. But I also think that they're going to crap the bed, or at least I hope so. So I wouldn't put much stock in that. And then, unfortunately, the Commanders, I can say this only because of the past, they're irrelevant. So until they become relevant, we'll just worry about our own team, and that's the Giants. And then Giants are the surprise here. Forget about the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Giants are in the hunt. Okay, they're 1 game back, and I'm going to put more stock in them than any because of that surprise element. You know what you're going to get here. You know what you're going to get there. You don't know with the Giants.
What we don't know at the moment is what wide receivers are going to come to the fore this season, because right now we're playing with, with all due respect to the players that are out there at wide receiver, they're not at the caliber of other teams. Kadarius Toney is an enigma. We just don't know what the situation is. And Kenny Golladay is another Dave Gettleman masterstroke, shall we say. But Kadarius Toney, like we saw him last year against the Cowboys, 172 yards off 10 receptions. He did some great things in the game in New Orleans. And even in the game in week 1 in Tennessee, he had a couple of end arounds and he got 26 yards.
Yeah.
When are we going to see him? Like over here in this world, like we call players like him soft in the head, and he just doesn't.
Patience, fella.
When is he
trust me, I'm from New York. I have no patience.
When is he going to be fit?
Yeah. So look, I think
is it in his head, Joe?
He's got. I mean, look, his head unfortunately is not in his hamstrings. So I don't know. The guy has tremendous talent. It pisses everybody off. Pardon my language. That he's not playing. Every week he's become the butt of the joke. Like, he's got a hangnail or he's got this, and it's upsetting. I'm really surprised he didn't make the trip to London. Universal Healthcare. So, it's bothersome to me. And don't get me started on Galladay. Coming. What a big signing it was for Gettleman. And if any Giant fan tells you that it wasn't, that's a lie. Okay, I was pleasantly happy with that signing.
We all were.
I didn't really care about the money. He was number 1 in the NFL on 50-50 balls. Now what the hell's a 50-50 ball to him? So, it's mind-boggling across the board wide receiver. I mean, I do have my cleats in my bag, so if they call me, I'm ready to rock and roll in
Quarterback?
quarter number one. No, we'll let quarterback is fine. Daniel Jones is healed up from that high. Let me tell you something. He's one tough son of a gun.
Yeah.
That guy he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. All right, so that's a whole nother story. But he's not playing wide receiver. So yeah, we're hurting in that department, and let's hope the cornerbacks for the Green Bay Packers don't have a very good game.
Joe, it's one thing to say that Saquon will come back and have a good year, but a guy with not significant, but historic injuries, and I think a lot of us have wanted him to come back and play well for a long time. Have you been surprised at how well
He's a monster? He's a monster. He's not only back, he's better.
He is the X factor today, isn't he?
He's the X factor every week right now. He is a monster. He's back. I think what made him so mad is that everybody was so against him. They want him off the team. They don't want to give him another contract. They don't want to do this. So he came back like, oh, really? I've never had adversity like this in my life. Yeah. So look at the way he's handling it. I expect him to have a monster game. You really want to say you go as far as your quarterback will take you. But I'm going to say that it's really how Daniel Jones and Barkley handle the situation. And Barkley, in my opinion, is going to have another monster day. Packers are not that good on the run stop. And I think he's going to have another 130, 140 game.
Yes. If we look at the talk, I suppose, is that red zone revolutionized the way we watch football a little bit. I think maybe we're watching another evolution in terms of the Manning cast and the way in which the two guys have come on, the guests. Talk to me as a Giants super fan. Talk to me about Eli Manning. And you were talking about underappreciated quarterbacks a little bit. Maybe he's not appreciated around the league, but to the Giants, you guys know how good he is.
Yeah, I mean, look, Eli Manning is that, golly gee quarterback that just happened to win 2 Super Bowls and, beat the undefeated Patriots. And, he will be... he's tatted on my leg. I mean, not like what's his name with his back.
Vernon Cade.
Oh my God! I saw it the other day. It was unbelievable. But anyway, I got a little one. He's got a big man. So and you know what? It's funny you say that. I was at my first Manning cast yesterday, 2 days ago, great story. So I'm sitting there, and Eli wasn't there yet, and he is coming through the doors. And security stopped him. And now I'm on the other side of the doors. I'm in already, right? So they stopped him, and they're asking him for ID and credentials and what are you doing here? And I'm like knocking on the window. I'm like, he's good. He's good. And he like, hey, you're like, I am good. It's my show. He comes in and he's like, license plate guy, if it takes you to get me in, we're in trouble, But it was really funny. But he's such a great dude on and off. And I do think that the Manning cast, it's going to go on for a very long time. They're not going anywhere. It's hilarious to watch. And, I only get to see him once to the Blue Moon. I go to every single game. So if they're on, for the Giant games, I'm not around. So, yeah, he's a trip. He's hilarious, actually. Not many people know that, but he's a funny dude.
They said, Joe, towards the middle of the week, people were suggesting that Landon Collins' confirmation that he was returning would be Monday because they'd have to make some changes on the practice squad and stuff. It was announced on Thursday. I knew on Wednesday because Joe here had told me with a little wink on WhatsApp that he was coming back. So Jacina Anderson did the Odell Beckham interview a few years ago, and she's been.
I don't remember that interview.
No, nobody wants to.
I don't remember that interview.
No one wants to remember that. But she's been very vocal this week and challenging people that think Odell Beckham is going to return to the Rams. She thinks that there might be another return in the offing. Anything to break on the Irish NFL show this morning?
I'm not into breaking news. I'll throw out my little hook, line, and sinkers. But look, I talk to Odell every week. He's I'm very, very close friends with him. I think he's a great guy. And Odell's not a dumb man. He's very intelligent. He's made his rounds. You've seen him shaking hands with Tom Brady. You've seen him go into the Rams. You've seen him pay a nice little visit to Giant Stadium. So he's no dumb guy. He's going to put himself out there. He's not going to be ready until November. The Giants are on the list, but the list is very long, and I don't think the Giants have it in their bank account. And I do think Odell, in probably his last contract, whatever it might be, 1, 2 years, 3 years, if he's, I don't think anybody's going to give him that after a couple of knee surgeries. But I think he's going to wind up going to another contender. The Rams and the Bills would be first on my list. How's that for hook, line, and sinker? And we'll see what happens. But I do believe there's always that wild card team that's going to be like, you know what? We need a receiver now. but we need a receiver now, and we'll see who that team is.
Right, what's on the agenda for today? Because this is like a tailgate day like no other. It's funny because where we're recording is like a big Packers party. So what's your plan? And
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
I don't know.
Packers
I don't know.
everywhere. They're more green
Joe,
than I've ever did
I
in
have
my
to
life.
say they've been very good to us here. So if they want to have a fiesta, whatever they want to do, it's grand. Seriously though, who's your game pick today? I'm joking. Here, Joe, stick around for half an hour and see this last pick. What's in the plan this morning for you?
So look, this was my number one thing, and I want to thank you guys for having me so much. It was really kind of you to reach out. Not only that, your success. You know, kudos to you. I mean, you've been doing this a little under over a year.
2.5.
See how much I know.
October 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
First show was on
But
Halloween night.
Yeah, it doesn't count. It was COVID, so a little over a year. So no. So congratulations on all the success. And you know, I was told by some fans of yours last night that I'm supposed to ask for some Madden, and you gave away some Maddens a couple years ago.
Oh.
Madden games.
Come
And
on, let's go. Chop, chop. I don't
Michael's the
have a
man
Do
for
you need a
that.
code? Yeah.
I need a code. Let's go.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up.
So thanks for having me. But look, it's a sea of green out here. But I will tell you this. I'll tell you, people watching or listening and Giant fans everywhere. Look, when the Giants were here in 07 and then again in 16, come on, we were stacked. And this is Green Bay's first time.
Yeah.
So it's a little honeymoon experience, big deal for all the people out there, all the green that's around the streets and in all the pubs. They'll go home upset, tired, upset they even made the trip, and then you know the Giants next time they'll come back, it'll be flooded with blue.
Love it. Joe, license plate guy, thanks a million for coming on. And I'm sure this will not be the last time we're talking Giants for you. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure. Go Giants.
Yeah, what he said. Right, we'll be back in a few minutes with the Irish NFL show.
Where were we last night?
Welcome back in to the Irish NFL show, live from London. Good timing there. Look here.
Abrupt.
Some of us were at a wedding last night in Tyrone, the 20th as well, and I'm here now outside Tottenham. More importantly, guy that you can see on Twitter, especially in Ireland, massive NFL fan, but also some really, really great content on Twitter. Richard Chambers, welcome in at News Chambers. How's the form?
Oh, lads, amazing. What a morning for this, yeah. Good morning football, like. I mean, it's amazing. I was walking up from, just where I got dropped off in the taxi, and just such a lovely buzz there already. Great day to be here. Amazing.
Isn't it mad how many Packers fans there is? It's like All Ireland final day, but it's like Dublin against like some sort of small county, and there's about 90% of Dubs. It's mad, isn't it?
It really is. Like over the last couple of days around London, we got here on Thursday, and like everywhere you've gone, you have dozens and dozens and dozens of Green Bay Packers fans, and maybe like one or two of his colleagues in blue. But like it's unbelievable. Like this, I actually am really looking forward to see what the atmosphere will be like inside. How noisy it'll get when the Giants are on the ball, and how much, that there's a clear numerical advantage for Green Bay Packers fans here. I'd love to see how that pays out. But it's been great now just to chat to some Green Bay fans over the last couple of days. They're having the time of their lives, like, to be over here for this. And we all should be as well, so we will. I'm going to invest for the rest of the day in beer and brats, and it's going to be a great day.
Go for it, sir.
Are you still basking in UCD's Shamrock Bowl victory?
I am. It's been a beautiful thing. When I was there in UCD, and it was literally the first year of the club. It was but a dream in the gimlet eyes of a few dreamers, who put it together. And we were there from the start, and it really had. To see it grow from something which had no equipment, no pads, no jerseys, going through administrative sort of issues with UCD because they don't like teams having other names. So we were the UCD Sentinels for like a year and a half until they killed that one.
That was a great name.
It was a great name. It was off The Replacements. You remember that film, the Keanu Reeves film, The Replacements?
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful film, beautiful name, and then they took it from us. But to see how the guys have gone, and like some of the guys, you talk about Larry Doyle, Owen Feely, guys who've been there since the very, very get-go, and to see how it's all paid off for them and the amount of work they've put in. Like, it's great, and that's actually something which is great about the London weekends as well, is that you'll always get a good contingent of Irish fans over it as well, and guys wearing their Irish American football jerseys as well. It's nice to be able to spot some in the distance there,
Well, here, Brian, the airport was mad this morning. Some of the jerseys. There was a boy in a Dak Prescott top in front of me, and I asked him who was he supporting today, and he laughed.
So, I can imagine, yeah. That's frowned upon to be wearing Dak Prescott jerseys. Richard, everybody gets an interest in the NFL at different stages of their life. I'm in my 40s, so I started watching in '86. And never in a million years thought there'd ever be a game in London. Never mind where we're at now, where we're having 3 games and then the Munich game. And yesterday, Roger Goodell is talking about potentially a division being based in Europe. It's my yeah. As I said to the guys, let's just get one team here first before we even establish a
before
division.
you can run. Yeah.
It's mind blowing though. Like you talk about all the Packers fans here today, the fact that this is their first time over, but like this is the last team of the 32 in which to play a game this side of the world. But like where we were from 07 to now, it's staggering how much has come on, especially with the sport across Ireland, the UK, and Europe.
It really is. The growth has been amazing. Like I remember even back in those days, around 07, when the first NFL London game was on. I think it was the Giants Dolphins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was an absolute stinker of a game.
The weather was terrible.
Yeah, on the way to a Super Bowl though for the Giants. But I remember then there was nobody else was really watching it in my sort of circle of friends or people I knew. And yet every single year it has come on and come on and come on and come on. And things like Red Zone, things like social media have really brought it on. And it's been great to see, because now I think it'd be hard to find people who don't even have a casual interest, even a passing interest in the NFL these days. And it's been great to see it. And I mean, I'd love to see where it goes now in terms of, NFL in Europe. I mean, when you're seeing, alternating games between Munich and Frankfurt, both cities, Germany's mad for the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see where else they can take this and what they can do more permanently. I don't know about divisions and teams. I just don't know how the logistics of that work, but Roger Goodell.
Michael's very happy that we're going to Munich next month. A little bit late for the beer fest.
That's good. Yeah.
It's usually October, isn't it?
It's usually October, and I'll say this, and I think for a lot of people, we are fortunate to have a lot of people that watch not just in Ireland but in the UK as well. It's a big day for people in Ireland. The game is on Virgin Media 2 at 2:30.
Should have mentioned that.
But I should have mentioned as well, and we will continue to mention this.
Here's the plug.
But I'll say this, I think sometimes, and Henry Hodgson said it in an interview the other day, they're trying to take the game outside of London in the UK at least. I think I think Ireland should get a game. Now, am I going Croke Park? Am I going the Aviva? Am I going Ravenhill? If Casement Park ever gets built in the next 100 years, Clonus, I don't know. Clonus.
Anywhere will do.
Anywhere.
Nolan
It'd be
Park.
mad,
yeah.
wouldn't it? It'd be nuts.
It would be mad, but I think that's been something that the college football games, and like they're always great. They're always great spectacle and all that sort of stuff. But the NFL is obviously a step up above that. I think that the Aviva has shown that it can do it. Croke Park can obviously do it. There's obviously a fan base there. And I think that what the London games and what the Munich and the Frankfurt games are going to show as well is that fans will travel from wherever to be here. Like I was chatting to some guys from Wisconsin who'd been like, no, this is the first trip we've had abroad in years and years and years, and we were going to be here no matter what. So the American fans will travel over as well, and we love in Ireland spinning things for tourist value. So why not? Give us some of that tourist dollar. Get them all over here. I don't care who's playing.
I think if there's an NFL game up for grabs, Frank Murphy might come out of retirement and park in Queens.
Put it in the park.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Look, it's not even 10:30 in the morning. We've already had Rappaport, Schefter tweeting.
Wow.
Scott Hansen won't use the bathroom for 7 hours. You have the, small task of covering, say, national crisis when they happen. But are you glad?
Beautiful segue. It's really impressive.
Are you glad that you're not on the NFL media beat?
See, it's one of those things. Like I used to really want to be a sports journalist. When I was kicking off, I was like, I want to write about football and all that sort of stuff. But then I was like, I'm so obsessed with sport in every single way that I don't know if my brain would compute working in it in the same way. It's great to be here and just be able to walk around and soak up the atmosphere and have a few beers and all that sort of stuff. If I was covering it like, I don't know, Scott Hansen could do NFL Red Zone with a few jars in him. I don't know. It would be a hell of a task if he could. But it's like, yeah. It is such an operation, though. Even if you see some of the media trucks arriving here, it's massive. It is massive. And the amount of logistical moving around, that's one of my nerdest things to look out for in the stadium today. This will be my first NFL game over here. I've been to one of the States before. I was actually here for Saints and Chargers here in Wembley a couple of years ago. But it's the first time since I've been working in the media, I want to have a look at all the cameras and all that moving around. Because those new sort of super high def ones they do for celebrations, love that stuff. That's my kind of gear.
8K.
Exactly. I'm all for it.
Great first few weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Great few more. The next few weeks are going to be entertaining at home. It's going to be even better when Rovers win the league. Sorry, Richard. Richard Boseman.
Where's our manager? If anybody's watching and wants to manage
Cork
Bose.
City, by the way, they won Division 1 last week, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So there you go for all the Cork listeners.
What have you made of this season? Because it's been a bit strange. Some teams are doing a lot better than, like, Giants are 3-1. There's other teams that are surprised. Atlanta Falcons have won 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
There's some strange teams at the moment, and there's some teams like the Packers, for example, that haven't really hit the ground running, but still 3-1.
No, it's that parody thing. And I mean, obviously everybody's seen what Tom Brady had to say about it. He says that he's seen a lot of bad football, which in some ways true. I never thought I would agree with you. Yeah, exactly. Look at him. How is this man talking about other teams? The least self-aware man in football has spoken out again. And he just gets a free pass on it because he's Tom Brady. But yeah, it's been a strange sort of season, really. Like there's been some great individual performances who've done it. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. What he's doing this season is actually incredible. Like that man is on a plane of his own at the moment. For the Packers' point of view, it's very bitty. It's been very bitty, I have to say. I think things are slowly sort of grinding into gear. You're starting to see things pay off, but I'm a little bit worried about today.
It's great, isn't it?
I'm a
They're
little
all
bit
worried.
Are you? Because that's my question. Like, what are your thoughts on today? Because the Giants going in 3-1, first time we've ever had a winning matchup in London. That's hard to believe.
Well,
isn't it?
that is great. That adds to the value of this. I mean, it is. And also, if Green Bay win today, historic occasion at hand, lads. They will overtake the Bears for a time being for the most wins in NFL history. There you go.
That's the way the Bears are going. That's probably secure.
If Chicago will later on now.
Yeah, that's tied again. It's tied again. But for that shining moment, the Green Bay Packers, the winningest franchise in NFL history. It's been a tough start to the season, I actually think. I think things are slowly clicking into gear. Like, I am nightmares about Barkley and this run against this run defense.
Not great to run defense.
Not good. Not good.
No,
not pretty at all.
Last week against the Patriots, anyway.
No, and the offense, like, still the receiver question for Aaron Rodgers is there. I mean, Romeo Dobbs has come in. He looks very good. Alan Lazard is still there ticking away, but it's hard to replace some of the players that we've lost over the years. I mean, Devontae Adams and stuff like that, and it just really hasn't happened yet. And I do worry about it. I do think that, a win here today could kickstart the rest of it, because I do think that, in fairness, being able to grind out wins rather than steamrolling teams is often good a sign as any. And they have, in fairness, done that ever since the calamity, which we won't speak about in week one, because that was dirt on the shoe. That was, yeah.
You mentioned the back-to-back MVP there, and obviously he's had 2 incredible years. He's also now a staple on the Pat McAfee show, and we saw him in the last couple of months admit to enjoying an ayahuasca trip over the summer, but also during his long career playing on Percocet a number of times. Aaron Rodgers, Richard.
He's an enigma, wrapped in a riddle.
Nobody asked him at the Friday press conference. Not one person.
It's one of those things where it's those sort of press conferences when you take them abroad. You're not going to get pointy questions, are you? You never really get the pointiest of questions. Sometimes I don't think you do anyway. But I don't know what to say about him because he's been such an absolute hero for so long. But it's like when you start learning more about your heroes, you're like, oh man, these aren't everything we thought they were.
Close the ears.
I'm all for ayahuasca Rodgers turning it on for the rest of the season and making it a three-piece on MVPs. He is an incredible football player. I think a lot of Green Bay fans, myself included, were a bit worn out with a lot of the stuff over the last couple of years in particular. The will he, won't he sort of stay on? Where is he going to go? Is he going to go to Denver? What's he going to do? And the stuff about the vaccine, the stuff about the ayahuasca, and just the stuff he comes out with. I just wish for just take a second. Just take a second, Aaron. Just reconsider things. But this happens with Green Bay quarterbacks. We've been blessed with them, and then they end up disappointing us at the end. But I know, look, I mean, he stayed the course. People's personal lives and all that sort of stuff, and whatever absolutely mental stuff they get up to outside them, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, is all good. But he hasn't really clicked for him 100% yet. I think this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the sunshine, which we're basking at the moment, to point the way for the rest of the season, and that this will be the kickstart. Want 3 touchdowns minimum from him today.
What did he say? Never meet your heroes?
Yeah, that's exactly what they say, and for good reason when it comes to NFL players.
You are looking. Well, he's brought your cheerleader today. I don't know if you've noticed, like your head coach continuously wants to get the crowd going at home. You should focus on the team more so than getting the crowd going. Going to be a great crowd here today.
He's right.
I know,
10:30 in the morning, sir.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What is your thoughts on
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Like, I mean, we've come from Mike McCarthy, and Mike McCarthy stuck around for like 4 or 5 seasons too many. And the amount of talent in his teams that he squandered with the most conservative play calling in the world. And now Matt LaFleur hasn't gotten everything right since he's come in, but I like what he does with the team. I do think that he tries to get, he's great. He's a great play designer. I think that, last year was very disappointing. Last year was incredibly disappointing in the end. But, I'm a big fan of the guy, I have to say. He is not to everyone's tastes. We will say that.
He looked a bit disgruntled this week about coming over.
I think, yeah.
He was a bit.
They do a little bit of
He
that.
needed a Circle K coffee. Let's just put it that way. He was standing there like.
Who's the most disappointed NFL coach to ever come over? Was it Tom Coughlin? I think had a bit of a.
Harbour did not want to be here.
Yeah, he did not.
He did not want to be here.
Well, Josh McDaniels only came over on a Friday and still found time to spy on the other team.
And get sacked on the Monday.
That's a busy weekend, is what that is. He packed it all in.
Obviously, the game is live on Virgin Media 2, 2:30
Remember, I told you that, not him. Yeah.
First, I could be wrong here. That is the first regular season game. Well, for a long time anyway. 30 years in Ireland on television. Ever?
I believe so. There have been Super Bowls, and TV3 I think had a Super Bowl at one point. But I think in terms of regular season, I think this is it.
That should, again, it just shows where the game is going. The demand is there. People are watching it. People are staying up. If you flick around Twitter or Instagram, any Sunday night at God knows what hour, people are still up and watching it, even if they're not fans of those teams. I think that's just incredible.
What are you thinking? Us 4 Arizona, Virgin Media. What do you reckon? I reckon it could be a thing.
I must say, I actually did when I saw at the start of the season when it said that we had the rights to the Super Bowl. I was like, am I hosting the Super Bowl? Which is like, no, you are not hosting the Super Bowl. But the campaign has begun. I am campaigning and I'm champagning and campaigning my way towards Arizona is what I'm doing.
The bags of potato will be in a bit Richard here now.
We're going. We're going.
I'll be right there with you if I can.
You'll definitely see us on the 5:30 news on a Thursday or something. Just finally, Richard, obviously massively thanks for coming on, sir. And not just that, but for your support. I think over the last couple of years, if it wasn't for people like you in Ireland, we would never be at this point. So thanks a million for that. And what's your thoughts for today? And who's going to win?
I have fear. I don't think it's going to be.
The fear on a Sunday.
I have the fear. It's right of a Sunday morning to have the fear. As I say, the run defense scares me. Scares me today.
Great, isn't it? They're
But,
always-
but I have huge faith. I think that this is going to be a good performance from Aaron Rodgers. I think things are going to click. You're going to see Romeo Dobbs continue to make his mark in Green Bay. And I think that we're going to win possibly by maybe 10 points plus.
10.
10, 14.
Like a,
Covering
a
the
Dublin-esque
handicap.
win, a Dublin-esque points
I think
win
so.
against
I
Kildare.
mean, it is, and it's great that you guys are here. And it's been brilliant. Your coverage here over the last, like even last year as well when I was watching it, I just think it's fantastic, and it's a great way of just putting more Irish eyes on the sport. And you've been great ambassadors for the game, and I just think it's great to be here with you for this beautiful morning when Green Bay, starts the Super Bowl run at this point.
Now you might see the Lambo leap. You might see Richard doing the Tottenham leap.
I will be. Yeah, I will
Randall
be.
Cobb jumps up to Richard.
Yeah, and we're a long way back. It'll be a hell of a jump. Yeah.
Here, look, who knows what will happen? Game on Virgin Media 2 today at 2:30. You can check out Richard at News Chambers, the group chat podcast. Some great crack going on over there. Definitely check it out. And for some superb NFL tweets on the Sunday night, even if you're in Ireland or further afield, check Richard's accounts out. But thanks a million for coming on, sir. Really appreciate it.
Lads, thanks so much. And watch it on Virgin Media too. Wink down the camera. This is beautiful. This is professionalism.
We're back in a few moments.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay, welcome back into the Irish NFL show, final segment of this fantastic show. Great to have Richie Chambers on. Great to have license plate guy on. We're going to talk some more Giants football with our next guest, who has been on the show previously. Had his time with the Giants as a player for a brief period. Now part of the Blue Rush podcast, involved with the New York Giants media team. Was out here in London doing some fan events, and I'm also certain that you're a Grey Cup champion as well.
Absolutely.
Mr. Brandon
absolutely.
London. Welcome to
Up in
London, Mr. London. How are you?
Montreal. Welcome back to London, Mr. London. It's my third time out here with the Giants. I've come out here for some Chelsea FC stuff, so I bleed blue, and actually forgot my flag in the hotel, my Chelsea scarf. So,
Just as well.
Man, yeah, I guess that's a good thing. But ready to see some good football here today, man. Two good teams, and I'm excited. Both fan bases are excited.
We talked a little bit earlier, I suppose, about the new regime in New York.
Yeah.
And we had Joe Shane on over the summer, and he didn't really talk too much about the previous regime, but Dave Gettleman put Joe in an awkward position. and he's had to make cuts, and he probably hasn't been able to do what he wanted to do. But the Giants find themselves at 3-1. From your perspective, how impressed have you been by, I suppose, what Joe Shane has been able to do and the product that you've seen on the field?
Well, I think we've all been beyond impressed. I think he's super exceeded expectations already. And Joe Shane was in Miami when I was a Miami Dolphin. You know, I actually talked to him a couple days ago when we were taping the Eli Manning show. And that was my first time really having a conversation since he's been back, because the man's been so busy. But you could just see the energy and all that he brings. Brian Dable wearing Jordans at practice and all. And I get how that doesn't really mean much. New York fans want to win. But at the same time, when you're setting and resetting a culture, you want to come in and have your own little sprinkle, you know, put your own little remix to it. So I think they've come in, they've brought a breath of fresh air, they've brought in some early wins, and when they keep, as long as this team can stay healthy and stay in the game, Giants fans are going to get behind them because they're modernizing Giants football right now.
Brandon, on the Blue Rush podcast, you've been quite vocal about the offense this season, you know, with the exception of maybe Saquon and Daniel, in particular the wide receiver situation. Like, we're playing today, with all due respect to the guys that are playing, with guys that wouldn't be at the upper echelons of the league. Kenny Golladay, we really don't know what the situation is there, and obviously Kadarius Toney's injured. Are we going to find a situation, if they continue to get wins, because there is a stretch in the season where they play the Lions, the Texans, the Jags, Seahawks, winnable games, and I'm sure they'll say the same about facing the Giants. If the Giants were to get into a situation where they potentially could look beyond and maybe into the playoffs before the deadline, could you see a situation where they do find a way to get a wide receiver in?
It depends on what the money's going to be like.
Yeah.
What can you give up? You know, Kenny Galladay's not going anywhere because of that contract. And if you do dump that contract, you're going to have to eat it. So what you're going to have to bring in is going to have to be above what you need in that sense. So I think they're kind of stuck right now. But, you know, it's a challenge in the NFL. You know, as a guy, as an undrafted free agent, you know, you guys talk to Victor Cruz. When we sit there and we look at a guy, a first-round draft pick, or we look at a free agent come in, we're all under the same umbrella in terms of competitive spirit, being teammates. But we look at that opportunity. So if you're a Richie James, you're a David Sills, I'm hard on those guys because it's like, hey, you got the first rounder that's out. You got the money guy that's out. This is your opportunity. No, there's no slipping on routes. There's no dropping balls. This is your opportunity, because being with Vic the last couple days, you know, being out here, we've been doing the Play 60 stuff. We went to college together, so we understand each other's story. And I love that. We talked in the car. I'm like, man, I wish I would have done more special teams wise when I was with the Miami Dolphins. I could have maybe caught on a couple more years in the NFL. And we're talking about how we wring the sponge. He's wrung that sponge as much as you could with what he's done with his story, you know. So when you look at a David Sills and those guys, it's like, all right, the media is going to jump on you guys, calling you guys nobodies or guys that not the money guys, but this is your opportunity not only to catch on as a New York Giant, but to catch on and play however long you can in this NFL. So it's an opportunity for these Giants receivers right now, and someone in that room has to rise above the challenge.
Just a quick one. Brian Dable has been very consistent with the message, you know, whether you're a 70 million player or a 20 million player or a $2 million player, if you're proving it during camp, during the week in the lead up to game, you will play.
Yeah, and you usually, you don't, when a coach says that, it's BS. It's BS talk. I'm a coach's kid, you know, but shout out to William Mary, who just beat number 6 Delaware yesterday. Happy birthday, Dad. But I'm a coach's kid, so you hear that type of political coaches talk all the time. But here's a dude who means what he says. And at the same time, he's not putting these guys out there, or guys that are stepping up for that opportunity in the practices and all are getting that opportunity, and you're still 3-1. So it's a leverage game in that sense. And, you know, you're a Galladay, you're like, oh, I should be out there playing. They're still 3-1 at that same time without him. So he's one of those guys where I want him to get healthy, because I don't think his best football is out of him just yet. I want him back on the field because I think he can make plays for this organization.
Long season ahead as well.
Yeah,
so time and time. Saquon Barkley, Brandon, a player on a mission to prove the Giants that he's deserving of a new contract next year. Good start to the season.
Oh man,
great start to the season.
It's a league of opportunity and prove it. Saquon has been in a position where he's had to prove it. You know, you're generational talent. You see all the pressure that came attached to his name with that draft pick. Had some 2 unfortunate years when it comes to injuries, but you notice those injuries, they weren't injuries in terms of nagging injuries, soft tissue that he couldn't get healthy. It's just a freak of nature. It's football, ladies and gentlemen. It's not Twitter football. It's real football. It's grown men out there. So there's those type of injuries. And you just seen his demeanor. You just seen the way he's carried himself throughout the spring and throughout training camp. And I tell this story. You remember that big brawl, skirmish broke out? And people kind of say he started it because he lowered his head a little on Aaron Robinson. He had been doing that all camp, finishing his runs. And you saw that the Tennessee Titans game when he got in the end zone on not only the touchdown, but on the 2-point conversion, lowered his head and ran through somebody to finish it. So you practice how you play. So when that man, when 2-6, I call him 2-6 because he's on a mission right now. When he come out and he said he wants to go out and kill somebody and he wants to go out and prove all the haters and keep that same energy, he's playing. It's not talk. He's not Twitter talking. He's not doing it for the social media. He's doing it. Not only is he's not shutting up, he's putting up with his game. His game speaks for itself.
And I suppose speaking of people with points to prove, Wink Martindale obviously comes in from the Ravens. Things maybe didn't go how he wanted last year, but we heard him over the course of the training camp talk about wanting to dictate to the offense rather than having the offense dictate to them. How impressed have you been with the Giants defense?
Beyond impressed, because I thought when you let a guy like James Bradbury walk and a guy like Blake Martinez walk, I'm like, what? I'm questioning in my head, like, what? We don't have enough groceries to cook a great meal right now. But you've seen how innovative he's been. You've seen how creative some of the things he's doing, using a Xavier McKinney, taking him from that free safety position and putting him in the box against a Christian McCaffrey. You see he's calling on guys to do certain things, and it's like, hey, this may not be sexy for you this week, but we need your skill set to shut that other opponent down. So he's getting the most out of these guys. And I mean, Giants fans, that bend but don't break with Patrick Graham last year, it worked in a sense, but it's hard to hold a team to 17 points in this league. So the way that Wink's being creative with being a little bit more aggressive than a Patrick Graham was last year, you're seeing he's getting the best out of his players in this defense.
Brandon, we were here last year doing shows for the 2 games which were played in London. We've been travelling over from Ireland to the games over the years.
Stop bragging.
There's a different feel about this game this year. It really is. Like, I know I'm a Giants fan, so I feel it as a fan. But like, there's Packers fans everywhere this weekend. You've been here for a few days. And especially the growth of the game internationally, you can really get a sense this is such a significant game as part of the plan.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the product. When we first came over here in 2007, it was Giants, Dolphins, and then for years it was like the Jets versus the Jaguars or something like that. I'm not waking up at 9 a.m. hungover from Saturday night to watch the Jaguars play, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I love the game, but I mean, you just see how you see it now. This beautiful Chelsea Stadium behind us. So you just see the NFL. The great game is growing. I come over here and I do football camps with my friend Brendan Collier of PPI. We've got guys at Ohio State, Notre Dame, and kids from Germany and kids from Austria, and you're just seeing how the game, how the first time I came over here and ran a camp, you're having to teach a 16, 17-year-old how to backpedal, how to move. And it's like, come on, at 16, 17, you should be picked up on the game by now. But now we come over, we ran a camp in Crystal Palace back in March. These guys are identifying cover 2 on the run. These guys are talking about the shades of a nose and 3 techniques and all that. So it's a big shout out to a lot of the trainers and a lot of the football clubs, like the Rig Academies and a lot of these football clubs out here that are getting their players not only college ready, but also getting that dog mentality ready for them because when you go over to America, it's a different type of culture with how we attack the football. So I think the game is going to grow and continue to grow here. 5-10 years from now, we're going to be back up here at Chelsea Stadium again, and we're going to see there are going to be a couple kids, playing in this game from London, from Ireland, and from Germany. And I hope the NFL, Roger Goodell, I want to be a part of this NFL Europe.
I think what you're saying is a testament to yourself, because if it wasn't for people like you supporting people like us, none of this stuff will actually be happening. So obviously, thank you for doing that. I'm going to jump in here and say, can we talk about the game? Give us your game pick, because we're actually going to end the show and go around and get game picks. I'll go first so you can hate me after. I'm taking the Packers to win. I'm taking the Packers to win. However, whenever the game was first announced, I thought it would be 45-5 or 45-2, maybe. I'll tell you what, I think the Packers win very, very close game. I can see the Giants taking them. But I still think the whole London factor, Rodgers gets it down the field a few times. Giants are on the up, Brandon. I have to give it to them. Enjoyable team to watch. Maybe not that Dallas game, but it was all right. I'm excited for this game. There's a lot of Packers fans here. Who's your pick?
You know, on the New York Post Blue Rush podcast, I said the Packers because I think, you know, the Giants are just in this going against this team and a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I know he has 3 interceptions on the year, but this could be one of those games where when a great or a GOAT has kind of struggled, he gets his groove this game. I'm hoping not, but you know, I don't think the Giants just have enough right now, especially with Azeez Ojulari not even making the trip over here. Pass rush and all, you're playing against a smart quarterback. So I picked the Packers for sure, but I think it's going to be a quality game in the sense where the Giants are going to try and control the tempo with a lot of 13 personnel, run game sort of thing. So if they can stay in the game.
Look at this.
This is like WWE.
Oh, he's watching it. He's watching it.
He heard it.
Well, Brian's under pressure in a second. Colin.
But see, you gotta say it. I gotta say it with my chest. You know, I had to.
That was amazing there now.
That was.
Colin,
That
who
was
have you
like
got, sir?
running down the aisle. That was definitely a WWE moment. I think Brian has probably said a lot of what I would say in terms of if this Giants team was at full strength, I could really see them, you know, getting over the line. I think it'll be really close, and I think the fact that what we've seen from the Giants, what's been really impressive to me, isn't even the play. It's been how they've responded to Brian Dable.
Yes.
It's been when he talked about going around the line, right, and he said to the guys, "We're going to go for 2," and every single one of them said, "Yeah." But football. There's a reason QBs are paid like they are.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're protected like they are, and that's because it's the most important position, and generally, you win because of the best QB. Aaron Rodgers is a better QB than Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones doesn't even have the weapons, right? You know, and I think that will change. I think there'll be a fundamental change. I really like what Joe Shane is doing, and I think you're going to see what Buffalo did, and what maybe they did in Philadelphia, and what they did in Miami, and put those weapons in place. But today, under the sunshine, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
You can say it with your chest. If license plate guy runs out here again,
I'll tell you what,
hold him all
I'm
for
watching.
it,
Brandon,
man.
I am ready for this moment here. Brian's under big pressure now to end the show. Brian, who's winning this game? You're a big Giants fan.
Is there a graphic with the picks on this?
There is, and it says the Packers under your name.
Judging by what's happened, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to change
No,
my
you're
pick.
not.
No, I am going to change my pick, Michael. I am, because every Packers fan you talk to, there's a nervousness about this game.
Yes, there is.
There is.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you can sense
There's
it.
a nervousness about this pick.
He's watching. He's coming from it. Giants defense has been really impressive this season, and we touched on it earlier. There's no marquee players in the defense, maybe with the exception of Leonard Williams. You know, but what they're doing as a unit, collectively, playing from Wink Martinelli, I think they'll find a way to slow Aaron Rodgers down throughout the course of the game. Giants with Saquon Barkley can get these methodical drives going up and down the field. Saw Packers defense last week struggle against the run with Stevenson and Jones of the Patriots. Saquon is much better than those two guys combined, and he's going to find a way to get it over the line. Giants to win. Sorry about the graphic. Giants to win with a Graham Gano field goal, 23-20.
Last second field goal. Look, here, first off, thanks a million over the last 2 weeks to Shark Productions. The whole team behind it means an awful lot. Really, thanks a million, lads. 4th time doing this, and the weather just keeps getting better. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's helped us over the last few weeks with everything. The London Academy of Excellence for their help. The NFL, the PR teams, for everyone coming on, including Brandon as well. Enjoy the game. Go Pack Go. Go Giants. Enjoy whoever you're supporting. I got to run. See you tomorrow night. Enjoy the game. Virgin Media 2, 2:30 NFL Game Pass. Speak to you soon. Thanks, Brandon.